My name is Piyush, and I am joining on this call with Shravan and Shobit, my other co-founders. We have a startup called Hire Plus Plus, which we have been building for the last 2 years, and we are solving a major problem in the industry with the talent acquisition. That is providing knowledge and insights to the recruiters while they are conducting assessments and discovery of talent across roles in lateral hiring.
So
So
request
we
for a full screen mode, please, and keep your mic closer to you because
yeah,
there's a disturbance still, sir. Uh, just plug it well. I guess there's a plugging problem there. I would request for a display settings. Click on display settings and duplicate slideshow.
yes, I'm doing that.
Now let the timer be on. It's fine.
Is it now duplicate?
No, sir. Duplicate slideshow is display settings. Click on display settings.
I know, but
No, sir, it's not.
yeah, just 1 second. It's again trying to. Are you able to see now? Can I start?
So hold on. Yeah, we can start, sir.
Sure, sure. So my name is Piyush, and I am joined by with Shobit and Shravan on this call. For the last 2 years, we are focusing on solving a problem in talent acquisition, that is minimizing the number of resumes which go through the eye of a hiring manager. And we are using a lot of LLM technology. We are using a lot of proctoring and parsing technology, which we have improvised on. And that has led us to our application for 3 patents. And this is exactly working out because we are solving this fundamental problem in the business. A recruiter these days across industries is going through a lot of challenges because on one side there are plenty of resumes who are coming to apply for, and they can condition the resumes according to the job thanks to ChatGPT and other tools now. As well as on the other side, the hiring managers are suffering because the candidates who turn out are only found through the keywords which are being found, are only be searched for the keywords and the relevancy to the job. And by the time the entire process happens, the output of the whole process is either the candidate drops out, or the candidate is not selected, or the candidate decides to not show up on the last day. Now, how do we provide the power of data, knowledge, and insights in the hands of a recruiter to find talent across all roles possible? And that led to the discovery of Hire Plus Plus, which we have been developing that. So this is exactly what the normal process looks like. There are so many CVs when you put a job on a VMS or a ATS portal, application tracking system. The application tracking systems are spread too thin because the only way we get that from a output is basically a ATS score, which is a black box score. Nobody knows how it works. It is normally supposed to be keywords matching there. And then you are basically also missing out at the same time on the people who are too busy to apply for a job, who are fit for the role, the people who are there to shop for offers, and then there are picture perfect CVs who have been given to you on the role. The recruiter, on the other hand, comes with people skills, not really tech skills to understand and gauge the guy. So they are heavily dependent on the interviewers and the hiring managers. And that's where we are now bringing in all of that information in the hands of a recruiter to parse whatever resumes they get to identify the best talent possible using our own proprietary parsing technology and a matching engine which gives you working on context. The second one is the prospecting tool where we are using programmable search engines to identify people who are fit for the role across social media. And the third one where we are able to do proctoring on the candidates while they are giving an interview on a video platform, which is also built from scratch by us. So going straight forward to this entire technology stack is focusing on these 5 elements: the search part, which we do, the AI helper, which provides you with all the insights on the candidate as well as the job, the candidate filtration tool, which is built on the parser and the matching engine, which we have built, the in-depth interviews we are able to take, and the reports, which I'm going to start with.
So so we are not able to hear you. Can you please check the plug because it seems the plug is a loose end.
Just on a call before this. See if I can change the.
Rahul, you can stop the timer for a while. Yeah. Mr. Piyush, we can't stop the timer for long.
I
Do check
understand.
your audio setting.
I understand. I'll just try to work on the audio setting here.
So we are able to somewhere hear you clearly now. If you can put your mic
Are
down, I
you?
guess it would be better.
Is it? Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, it's better. It's
Oh,
better.
this is the blessing. It started working on its own.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Just coming back to it. So I'll just start with a report of what is the output of our SaaS which we have built. This is where I have taken an interview for a candidate in the airline industry, trying to find a person in the sales job, and I have been able to interview them, and with a proper reasoning on why those questions were asked, I gave a feedback saying that the candidate is very, very overqualified for the job, but is a very good fit, if possible. We are able to gauge the entire personality of the candidate in the interview, able to capture the snapshot of the interview along with the video and audio cues, which I'll show. We are able to find out from the resume on the relevance of the candidate for the job. We are able to judge them across the sub skills we hire them for. And with this, we judge their soft skills, the preferences, what they want. The AI assesses their audio and video to give a feedback on how their communication has been. We also give a full feedback on what questions and what we ask them to be very specific about their industry. And this is all coming from our recommendation system. The confidence mapping of the voice, and the transcription of the entire interview, where we are also judging that audio and video cues for the communication, confidence, and the sentiment of the candidate. And this entire piece, once it is done, leads to a decision making capability for the recruiter whether they should be submitting this profile to the hiring manager or not. When we capture this, we are also capturing it for fraud. We are capturing the entire video feed along with the audio to figure out the head and the eye movement of the candidate, to see if they are how much their sincerity in the interview. We are tracking their emotions, and the entire interview is captured for whenever we are finding anomalies, whenever we are finding the whatever we are judging on the emotions of the candidate, the speech analysis of the candidate, and this eventually replaces the CV itself as a concept, because these submissions have CV as nothing but just one of the small links available here. This candidate would not have made the cut through the job if she would have simply applied because she is a college dropout, which was not the requirement from the client. But not only we were able to close the position in just 3 submissions to the client, we were also able to secure her a very, very good job, much higher than what she was expecting. At the same time, the client was able to close this position in just 3 submissions and less than 3 days. And that's the power of AI, what we are using for. How many minutes do I have?
Almost 2 minutes now.
Okay. So now for any job, I can actually show that how we are creating the calling scripts. We are creating the basic questions we should be answering for any questions. And we drill in deeper for that particular job and particular context using LLM models to not only find people for that job across places, or also shortlist them and write very personalized communication using AI, but also the questionnaires which we have for this industry across difficulty levels which we use. And we are having a very good usage and traction for this tool now. It is being used across places, and we are able to identify fraud also to a very good extent, where some of these interviews we are able to identify people who are cheating in the interviews for various quizzes, and it has got usage across academia and across the industry. So it is a absolutely sector agnostic hiring co-pilot we are building using our parsing, proctoring, and prospecting technology. We can show things in action, but the timing is too less for that. And with the sample answers, now anybody smart enough can become a very, very smart recruiter and close positions not only fast, but this is the actual practical application of how to use LLM models and AI in the real senses of where the thing comes in. Am I still audible? Am I still connected?
Yes, sir, you're audible, you're connected, and you have a minute left, sir.
Yes, sure. So having said that, I'll come back to the presentation and I will just talk about the features which we have been developing. And this is where, Shravan, maybe you can talk about the technology, what is differentiating us for our patenting.
Yeah. We have our own parsing technology which uses layout transformers and NER rules as well as LLM augmentation so to generate a precise and correct understanding of any resume and any job description. We also have sentence transformers and other things to do the exact matching based on a given domain. We augment the domain data into our existing sentence transformers models, word vector models, to do a actual contextual matching instead of just a keyword matching. And then for proctoring, we use multiple open source tools for face detection and then head orientation detection and pupil detection to do the actual face and screen recording the candidate to gauge their behavioral and other cues. And apart from that, we do speech analysis as well to find the number of gaps, to find number of MTI accent and other things to do the sentiment analysis as well as other things.
The overall advantage is that we are able to save around 72% of time every hiring is done, and that directly converts to savings in money. And that pilot is being right now done with Reliance, and we are doing it with Tata Foundation, and a lot of companies are seeing a lot of interest in what we are doing.
So the time is up. We'll start with the Q&A.
Sure. Really sorry for the microphone today.
So we can start with the questions. Anybody who would like to go first? Professor Maninder, would you like to go first? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, just one query. The resume that you showed, was it for a real person or?
That was for a real person. We have done successfully hiring for that in Air France.
I don't know whether, sharing that.
No, we have taken consent. First of all, the data is also GDPR and CCPA compliant. And plus, we have the consent of the candidate for giving this for a real demo. They are very happy with what we have been able to help with their profile.
Okay, so a couple of main questions. One is that you mentioned about a programmable search engine.
Yes.
Can you highlight?
It's a Google programmable search engine. So we have leveraged a Google search engine, and then we have programmed it in such a way that so that it shows only relevant results. So we have identified some user personas. We have identified some exact links which the search needs to happen on. And then we are utilizing AI-generated booleans to give the exact candidates relevant for the job.
So essentially, it is a service that you have used, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you mentioned we have developed a programmable search engine.
No, this is a Google programmable search engine which harnesses public data, but we re-engineered it in such a way that it will apply for searching the candidates relevant for the job, exact job, pinpointedly across geographies and across industries.
That significantly takes down the dependency on the job boards like a Naukri or a LinkedIn at this point of time.
And then next question is that you also showed some assessment scores for the interview, right? Are those generated automatically?
The scores are generated based on the answers given by the candidate, but yes, a human always has an override on the answers because they have a sample answer in front of them. And they get to select between 2,400 questions divided across 10 sub-skills, each skill, across 10 skills, across 3 difficulty levels.
So when it gives that score, does it also give some explanation? And is there a way in which one can check whether the explanations are correct or not?
Yes, so a human is actually reading that. The audio is already being transcribed for the entirety, and we are using later it to also make the questions better for the next round of discussions. The entire purpose of this tool is to create and replace the CV with something more smarter, which has got insights about, in a more standard fashion, how a candidate has been assessed and what is the proof of that.
And maybe one final thing, you also mentioned possibly some sentiment analysis part in the speech recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the assessment.
Yeah, there are two kinds of sentiment analysis which we do. We do a facial emotion analysis using models, and then other one is via transcription. We get to know the negative keywords or positive keywords and their annotations. And then based on that, we do a sentiment analysis of each transcription unit and give overall score on the sentiment. It's a positive sentiment or negatively worded interview. That's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of is based on the facial cues, facial analysis. whether the person is angry or sad or happy throughout the interview or how the conversation is going. And one other aspect to it is the tone of it also contains some score. So they're in talking loudly or talking in a gentle way or those things. There is a confidence score attached to it as well.
Like in the example which I showed you, the video cue of the candidate shows the candidate being very, very serious. But the audio cue of the same interview shows a very, very positive response of the candidate and confidence levels. And the eventual output of the report is that the candidate was able to not only make through, the number of interviews went down from 4 to 2 for their selection. And we found everything within, like, we were able to save literally 70% time in doing that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm done.
Professor.
So I'm focusing on the innovation side of things. When you have all this multimodality sentiment analysis, certainly there's potential inconsistencies where the audio might sound quite serious and then the facial expression is smiling, and there's inconsistency, potential inconsistency in there. How would you relate that to your criteria? Is this person confident, or is this person a bit stressed or tense, and how would that affect the person's ranking globally?
On the process wise, I can assure you that every report which is submitted is thoroughly checked for the person's report versus what the AI citations are. So on one front, we are doing a proper manual QA on making before every submission. But yes, the merging the information on the video cues and audio cues is the one which basically we see on the correlation on the speech part. Can I share my screen to show that?
There is always some kind of inconsistency involved. So we have split that into two parts, only visual cues and the audio cues in that sense. So the decision making, the visual cues and audio cues will not affect the ranking of the candidate, but gives you overall insight on how their behavior aspect of it is. So it's for the hiring manager to decide if they wanted to take them or not based on the visual or audio cues. But it's just an insight. It doesn't affect the score.
Around
The
10%,
Q&A answering.
but around 10% of the cases definitely came in where we were not able to get consistent video and audio cues. And at the same time, the feedback also was not balanced because of the facial structure of the person or the audio input which is coming in. And that is where we took the help of doing a manual analysis.
Yeah, so how widely has this been deployed? Has many companies making use of it, and
Yes.
many people been using it? Will
We have
we collect feedback on?
Yes, ma'am. And so far, we have taken more than 2,000 interviews on that. We have sufficient data to train our models for Indian faces because of the ones which we had were for European faces, but there is not enough data in the Indian space. And not only the good trials are going on, just today we are to be awarded one of the best AI in SaaS award in Global AI Summit. So that also speaks for what we have been able to innovate on.
Yeah, and you do have proper ethics sort of clearance and responsible AI statement, and this is not purely based on Gen AI.
Not at all.
Okay.
Because we understand majority of our clientele are based from Europe. So concern on the privacy is super important. Every stakeholder has a full right on being privy to the data or not. The owner of the data is here, the candidate himself, so he actually can request for the data to be taken down. But rather, what we have been noticing is that they're asking for these reports so that they can actually send it as a part of their next application in case they're not able to make it through. We are able to bring in trust and transparency with what we are building.
Yeah, and there could be huge implications with data introduced bias in terms of the recognition of facial expressions and sentiment.
Yes, Dr. Liu, what are we fighting against? We are fighting against the Excel sheet and the email reports which the recruiters give to their bosses that this is what I feel about the candidate. Now we are actually bringing in the real insights in front of the manager to look at whether they want to consider the candidate for their interview round or not. That itself is cutting it down a lot on the bias front. That itself is bringing a lot of transparency because now you see a person in action without interacting with him. And that's where I think the future of resume should be going to. And that's what we are driven for. That's what we have spent the last 2 years developing.
Yep. Thank you so much. That's exciting.
Dr. Nair, your questions.
So while assessing your system, did you find any inconsistency in what you've done? Like, for instance, a candidate is good and he has not gone through, or vice versa?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Yes, sir. Sir, initially, thing is the matching was not very accurate. So initially, we thought of doing a simple keyword match. So many people are going out. Then we thought of going for a vector match using word-to-vec models. So it also has some limitations where out of vocabulary words. For suppose if I take Reliance, they work in oil and gas. Most of the internet data is filled with IT related job things. So there are some issues which we faced initially. So because of the out of vocabulary issues, there were some good candidates who were judged as wrong candidates.
And that's
So
So I'm asking, after you have deployed it, did
yeah,
you find
then we went back and then re-engineered some things to do domain data augmentation for the specific domains, and we used the sentence transformers to do this kind of job for us. So it's not completely inconsistent. With the Reliance pilot, there was a moderate agreement, moderate to high agreement with the manual recruiter judgment with our model.
So with the Copilot, if you are able to even take 80% of the time away from the sorting of the resumes, because for large companies, they receive resumes in hundreds and thousands. Even if you are able to identify the top 10% in a few minutes, for some inconsistency, it is make sure. But if you are comparing this with the people who are getting dropped out because of the recruiter not being able to cover all the applications, this is a big delta here.
Okay. So where do you get these questions from, by the way?
So we are having a LLM model, sir. We generate them. Yes, we generate them specific to every job we have, based on the context of the location, the organization we are hiring for, the organization, the candidate type, which with a senior, junior, or that level, and the difficulty levels are accordingly also set. Initially, we also did use some of the data to train itself to have a consistency in the level of difficulty of questions.
Okay. So much from my
And
side.
some RAG data as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius, for your question. Thank you, team. Piyush and Akhil, thank you.